the older I became, I found myself in my spare time trying to be the band director. In high school, I was that kid in the high school band. I didn't choose music. Music kind of chose me, and my parents always taught me to find something that you like to do. And we used to say you never work a day in your life. It's a whole heck of a lot of work, a whole lot of work, but it's enjoyable work. And it's one of those things. I tell my students now, don't chase the money. Find something that you're passionate about that you would do almost for free, and then do it so well that people will pay you for it.
So, as we talked about earlier, this is Legends of the Fall. And so, our second segment, we're featuring our freshman brother Quentin, who currently serves as band director of Stephenson High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So, can you start out by telling us why did you choose the instrument you chose and what brought you to FAMU?
Um, well, my story is a little bit like I guess a lot of people's story in band. You know what you want to play, but it doesn't quite work out that way when we meet those directors like myself. It's like when I joined the band in fifth grade, and a lot of people don't know I'm from Louisiana. That's where I'm born. So a lot of people know
Really?
I'm from
What?
Atlanta. I was born in Louisiana. My parents moved to Atlanta when I was in the sixth grade, and so I actually started playing the saxophone in the fifth grade elementary school band. And like many, I wanted to play the drums. And like many directors say, we got enough drums. We can only take so many drums. And so I was like, well, what else can I play? Can I play the saxophone? And he tried to convince me off a saxophone as well because there was so many saxophones. But I kind of stuck to my guns a little bit on that one. Like, well, it's drums or the saxophone or blah blah blah. And so I ended up on the saxophone. And like my motivation for joining the band a lot had to do with my upbringing. So even though I went to FAMU, my family is very, very entrenched in Grambling State University. And so my father was in the band at Grambling State University. And my whole point with joining the band in fifth grade, I'm joining the band so I can be the drum major at Grambling. And so that's kind of how my introduction into the band world began. My weekends, we lived 25 minutes from Grambling in Monroe, Louisiana. That's where I was born. And so going to Grambling game was like a weekend event. Some days, some weekends the adults went, and then some weekends the kids got to go with the adults to the game. And so, I grew up in heavy SWAC country, which we're now part of the SWAC now, but we know how that rivalry went during our days in
Right.
school.
Right.
So, I grew up in heavy SWAC country with Grambling and Southern and Jackson State, and that was kind of my introduction to the band world. And so that's how I got introduced to the saxophone. Yep.
Interesting. And I never would have known that you came from Louisiana. I thought you were born and raised in Atlanta.
I'm one of the transplants like many.
Many of us are, definitely. And so, fast forward into your time at FAMU, what made you decide that you were majoring in music? And not only that, but wanted to actually direct a band. Was that always your plan, or did you evolve into that?
No, I think it kind of evolved over time. So music was like the family hobby. My brother played. My brother came up in the hundred in 2002, and we just grew up around music. We had church choir, uncles in the choir, mothers in the choir, dads in the band. So we just kind of around music all of the time. And that was not what I thought my career would be as a young kid. If you asked me what I was going to be growing up, I guess I kind of aspired to be an airline pilot. I was big in the airplanes, that kind of thing. And so eventually, music just kind of took over in life. I started piano, golly, in first grade or so, well before I started playing saxophone. It was piano lessons all the time. And the older I became, I found myself in my spare time trying to be the band director, in high school. I was that kid in the high school band. And all of us that have been, you got that kid that wants to write the music. You got the kid that wants to direct the band, but they're not the drum major yet. And eventually I became a high school drum major. But before I got to that level, I was trying to be the band. Can I conduct the warm up? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I write this music? Can I wrote this tune? Can the band read it? Can the band play it? And so, I say, I didn't choose music. Music kind of chose me. And my parents always taught me to find something that you like to do. And we used to say you never work a day in your life. It's a whole heck of a lot of work, a whole lot of work, but it's enjoyable work. And it's one of those things. I tell my students now, don't chase the money. Find something that you're passionate about that you would do almost for free, and then do it so well that people will pay you for it. And so I guess that's kind of how I found my way um, into the music world, and I guess into being a band director. Just kind of one of those things that you fell into it, and yeah, I might as well go ahead and do something with this.
That's it. That is it. When you can do exactly when you walk in your purpose, it's true. You feel
Right.
like you never work another day in your life.
Some long, hard days, and some days where you're like, man, what am I doing? But it's the rewards at the end. You're making a difference in children's lives. One of my teaching philosophies is to expose students to things they will otherwise not expose themselves to. And I guess I kind of come to that philosophy from my time in seventh grade. So when I moved from Louisiana to Atlanta, my parents moved for the reason of exposing me and my brother to better things, more diversity. I mean, we were small town USA in Louisiana. And so from my band upbringing, I got to Atlanta and I got introduced to concert band, it was all, man, we about to be in the marching band where I came from. And so the uh, the teacher, Miss Laird, who had a huge impact at Miller Grove Junior High School, I was the kid that asked her, when are we going to play some real music in band? We're playing scales and etudes and concert band music. And I'm like, all right, when we get into the real stuff? Because I hadn't been exposed to it. I didn't know if I liked it or not liked it. And so that's kind of driven some of the things that I do as a teacher. Because I know in our community, the concert band is not just something that's culturally just drenched into our students and our kids. We're jazz, we're R&B, but a lot of times people say they don't like things just because they haven't been exposed to it. And I didn't like
Right.
concert bands, symphonies, and all that stuff mainly because I really hadn't given it a shot. But it took a teacher to like expose me to it. We think about music from the standpoint of R&B and rap. Some people like West Coast rap, some people like East Coast rap, some people like Detroit rap, some people like down South rap. You know, you don't have to necessarily like all of it, but you can gain a respect for it and understand how it's put together and those types of things. And so I think exposure is really important so that students and children, when they become adults, they can have an open palette to continue learning, and they can have an open palette to kind of enjoy things that sometimes people say you're not supposed to enjoy because of. So exposure is just the key. Exposure and experiences.
Definitely. And breaking those barriers down. Music doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a specific that you should be listening to this based on who you are and where you're from. It's
Correct.
universal. So tell us about your time at FAM. How did marching in the 100 or being a part of FAMU's music department prepare you for your career as a band director?
Man, there are so many intangibles, and I was fortunate enough to kind of have a FAMU band director in my high school career. I had Mr. Wallace Clark, who was for my 10th and 11th grade, who was like legendary. He was a walking library, and I knew after like I went to my first band camp, I guess in 94, 95. I saw what would really kind of turn the table. It started in 1990 when my parents moved to Atlanta. It's just one of those things. So let me go back a little bit. Uh, we went to the Atlanta Football Classic, the FAMU TSU game back then in 1990, and my young ears was telling my dad it's something different about them. I didn't know what it was, but I knew they didn't sound like all the bands that I've heard growing up. It was something different, and I liked it. Had no clue what it was that I liked, but I really liked it. And so, fast forward a few more years, after become a little bit more of a mature high school musician, and been around the band world and the band thing. One thing we're fortunate to have in Atlanta is that we're the place where we get the SWAC, the MEAC, the CIAA, the SIAC. We get to see all of the bands are going to
True.
come through at some point. And so I got to see FAMU fresh off that 1994 TSU trip, and they stopped in Atlanta for the Ballad of Bands. And I would say that was probably the moment I knew like FAMU is going to be the place for me. I was a woodwind player, and woodwinds were very, very present in the Marching
Yes.
100 sound.
Yes.
From my time of playing piano, I could hear the harmonic structure of Sarge. So at that point, I just wanted to go where the woodwinds, and I wanted to study with Sarge. That's what took me to FAMU. I wanted to be able to arrange and write and those types of things. And so I think getting to FAMU, one of the things that's kind of intangible, that's kind of locked into all of us, and I think we don't even realize it until we get around other people. We have this like work ethic that's just like out of the box. Uh, when we say like, I guess we used to add a little phrase like, "Hey, make it happen." You know, we're gonna
Right.
find a way. We're gonna make a way. If it's not a way, we're gonna cut a
Yes,
tree.
sir.
We're gonna dig a hole. We're gonna do whatever it takes to make whatever the goal is happen. And I think that work ethic that was instilled, sometimes to a fault, because I think sometimes our work ethic is so strong that we forget sometimes that we can be more efficient in our work. And but it's like we're just driven. We're goal driven. We set goals. We set high goals, and we usually don't stop till we achieve them. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned at FAMU in the music department in the Marching 100 is that just about anything is possible. And if somebody says it's impossible, we're gonna find out a way to make it possible and show everybody it's possible. And so, yeah, I think that's one of many things. Dr. White and Dr. Foster and Dr. Chipman, it's one of those things. We talk to those guys now, and the conversations about what they made us do then and how much it's paid off now, it's like it's just it goes without saying. And so I would say that just work ethic, being a student of the game, being able to study and find solutions to problems, because there are going to be problems in every field of study. And there's so many people in the Marching 100 that have gone into fields other than music that are super successful because they just have this uncanny work ethic to succeed
Yes.
by almost by any means necessary. And so I
Right.
think that's just something in the 100. Something else we learned: we can work with anybody. We
Yes.
can like,
True.
we can love you. We can really not like you that much. But if we got a goal, we know how to work with just about anybody to achieve
Get it done.
master to achieve some type of goal. And I think that's one of the things we picked up. Not that people don't pick those up in other avenues and other entities, but I think in the Marching 100, it's kind of almost force fed. Now, I will tell you something that I didn't get from the 100. Man, I'm kind of when I know what I'm talking about. Like right now, I can talk forever about this kind of stuff. But I'm kind of a wallflower. One thing I used to hate. I used to hate that man that speak to everybody, man. Like they don't bother me, I don't bother them, and like sometimes people think, man, Quentin's kind of standoffish. No, I'm just like you talk to me, I'll talk to you, but I'm not like
You
the
know what?
conversation.
Right
Yeah,
there.
but
Fall 97. Quentin, I thought you were standoffish.
oh,
Yeah.
Well, that was all the saxophones.
That was all the saxophones.
yeah,
Yeah. But I'm listening to you. I'm like, this is my freshman brother. Like, just full of life and energy. And I'm loving it. But when you say, come off
yeah,
standoffish, I'm like, that's what it is.
yeah. But y'all on here, we're talking to band directors, talking about band stuff. You start talking about what's going on TikTok, I'm gonna do this.
Or get you to start talking about some Rachmaninoff, and then he'll go in for a minute.
Oh my
That's piano. That's a little out my lane too.
God.
But
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 yeah,
yeah, that's amazing though. The themes though, Tracy, are you hearing how no matter who we speak to, the work ethic, the drive, the need
yes,
to get it done by any means necessary is
that's
something
it.
that's
That's
been
the
ingrained in
baseline.
all of us.
All of us, when you come through the 100, and you come out of the 100, and you go into life, and you meet up on something hard, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get it done. And then somebody's next to you, it's too hard, and they start whining. I'm like, if you don't shut up,
Like it ain't hard.
it's not hard. You just get started with
figure
it. It'll be done. That's it
Yep.
right there.
Find a way around it.
That can do mentality, that can do attitude, that I'm gonna walk in the room, I'm gonna own the room. I may not have to say much, but I'm gonna own the room. And then whatever I'm, doing, whatever I'm tasked to do or whatever I'm assigned to do, I'm gonna do the damn thing. And then I'm gonna have a seat. And then you're gonna know that I did the doggone thing. And that's something that's ingrained with us, ingrained within us, when we go up on the hill and
Definitely.
we do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I
Quentin, have
think
you
some of that work ethic will sometimes it's to a fault, like I said, because sometimes it's like you know what, I'll take care of it. I'll take
Mm-hmm.
care of it. I don't even have to get all the credit. I'm gonna give the credit to everybody, but we're
Right.
gonna make this happen. We're gonna make this happen. I'm gonna show you how to make it happen, so you'll know how to do it next time. And because sometimes it's not, and I guess we all have that sometime where you don't believe it until you see it. You got to see it happen. And I know I'm that way in some entities too. You got to see the finished product, and it's like, oh, I get it now. So the next time we cross
Right.
this bridge, it's like, okay, if he say he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. You know,
Facts.
I, one of our biggest things, man. We took a group of kids to Hawaii. This was 10 years ago, so it's not current.
wow.
But
I
we
want to go to
we
Hawaii. I'm gonna join
and
your
me
band.
too. I want to go again. But the thing is, I said we had people that didn't believe we were going to be able to make it happen. You know, even some people that are with us, all the time that didn't believe we were going to be able to make it happen. And I said, you know what? I could cancel the trip because everybody's not willing to push and make it happen. But sometimes all you need is a fistful of people to join with you, and you can make it happen. And once people see it happen, now your credit goes up because now people know if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And building trust
Exactly.
is a huge thing in making systems work. People have to be able to trust the people that are leading them, and the people have to be able to trust the people that's on the team with them. However, when somebody jump off the team, that don't mean the team stop moving. You jump off, we gonna keep going, and you can wave at us when we get on the plane to Hawaii, whatever the case may be. And that parable can go into many different entities. It doesn't have to be Hawaii. It can be doing a bake sale out on the sidewalks. Well, we didn't have enough flour. We need to find some flour from somewhere and make it happen. So let me be quiet.
No, I'm loving
I think
this.
you covered it though, Quentin. I mean, just hearing
Right.
how all those lessons that were learned, whether it be on that field, in the classroom, on campus, off campus, all of it. You may not know when you will need the lesson, but you can see how all of it comes together at some point.
You have to always increase your toolbox. We have a toolbox with a screwdriver, with a hammer, with a flathead, a Phillips, an Allen wrench. But we don't use those every day. But when we need it, we know right where to go to get it,
Right,
and
you
it
know
has
where to go.
it has a purpose. Yes.
Exactly. Well, do you have any guidance for anyone that's listening that's either in college right now, in high school, and is thinking about a career as a band director or a music educator? What advice would you give them?
How much time y'all got?
Take your time. Take your time.
Take your
All
time,
right.
Quentin. Take your time.
Okay. So, wow. So let me try to make this short. 'Cause I've gotten asked this question before, and so the first thing that I would say is, as with any field, music is such a vast study, and it's like no matter how much you learn, there's always so much more out there to learn. And so I would tell anybody going into the field is to be a forever sponge. When you get your degree, it's just like with Tau Beta Sigma and Kappa Kappa Psi. What do they tell us? Now that you're in it, now the real work begins. So once you
Yes.
cross the stage and you get your degree, okay, you got your degree, but you don't know everything yet. So it has to be continuous learning. Music is an art. Music, when we say music theory, a theory is something that we accept to be true, but we can't prove any of it. And music is one big theoretical construct. So you got to be able to study all of these different acceptances. We have jazz. Jazz breaks a whole lot of rules that classical has. When we
Yes.
start to talk about scales, there are hundreds of scales out there from different cultures and different countries that who's to say what's right or what's wrong, but you need to study it so that you'll know it exists. And if you get a
Yes.
student in your class that culture, now you can be culturally relevant with them. Like, hey, you just moved from
Right.
here. Hey, they play this type of scale. They really major scales exist, but in your culture, they use this particular modal scale, and that's kind of like what all of your folk music is based on. But you got to study the craft. It can't be. It's got to be a forever. Um,
Mm.
for students that are coming out of college, well, let's start with students that are going into college. Make sure that you learn that piano. The piano is going to
Yes.
be your friend. It can also be your nemesis. And
Hmm.
make sure that you study music theory. Make sure that you listen. Um, Make sure you listen to people to learn. Ask questions. Don't ever feel like I tell my students right now. Uh, I want you to make mistakes because when you make a mistake as your instructor, I know exactly where to pinpoint and guide you from. Versus always saying, "Well, I don't know," or not having uh, an opinion or an answer about something because you're afraid to be incorrect. You can't be afraid to be wrong. I made a whole lot of
Right.
mistakes, you know. But when you make mistakes, mistakes are also learning experiences. And so, I would tell students just continue to learn, be a sponge. Don't be afraid to do something and it doesn't come out right. Well, you know not to do that again. You learn something, and you learn the why not to do that again, not just don't do it again. Um, Another thing I would tell, especially collegiate graduates, especially from our illustrious FAMU, but from any college, you're not going to come out of school and go and teach the Marching 100. You know, you're not going to
Right.
come
It
out
didn't work that way.
It don't work that way.
and teach Elsa's procession. So as much as you love Elsa's procession, you need to learn how to cross buns on every instrument, and you need to be able to play it on every instrument. And
Yeah.
when I graduated from FAMU, as much as I loved Sarge and his arrangements, I taught sixth grade all day for 2 years. I had 6 periods of sixth grade, not sixth, seventh, and eighth grade.
Ooh, hot cross
Sixth grade.
buns. Hot.
So I'm talking about red book. I'm talking about take the instrument out of plastic. This is how you. This is a cork, and this is why you need to grease it.
Wow.
And I think students need to know the reality of it is you can build your students into whatever you want them to be, but you got to be
Hmm.
willing to from any level. I've been fortunate. I teach in the same community. I student taught at Stephenson. I taught at Stephenson Middle School and Stephenson High School. So I haven't been in any other community but mine. But you have to be able to adapt to changes in your community. My community is not the same community in 2022 that it was in 2001 when I started teaching. A whole lot
Right.
has
Demographic
happened.
shift, right?
And so, how do you continue to be successful when you're not changing much, you're growing, but things around you are changing? And so, I tell students, I have a little thing I use in class about changing factors. In math, music and math are connected. You have tuning is based on Pythagorean tuning of intervals. And you have the Pythagorean theorem in music. Pythagoras, the great thinker, put all of this stuff together. But anyway, we tell students from a math standpoint, um, when you multiply things, you come up with a product, right? You multiply any numbers, you come up with a product. They don't call it an answer, they call it a product. And in order to change that product at the end, well, the two numbers that you multiply, they call those factors. And in
Mm-hmm.
order to change any product, you have to manipulate one or more of the factors. You keep doing the same thing, then you're going to get a different result. Now, how does this come into play? What about when factors are changing that you can't control? How are you going to adapt it so that you get the product that you want? And so,
Yes.
one of the biggest things that, especially new kids coming out to grad, you're not going to come out and they're going to sit a full instrumentation ensemble in front of you. If it happens, great, bless you. But you may have to build that ensemble. You may have to build those students into what you want them to be. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
firm. I think the middle school teacher is much, much more important than the high school teacher. The high school band directors, we get a lot of accolades for, oh, your kids got scholarships and they went to this
Mm-hmm.
competition, to that competition. None of that happens successfully without a middle school teacher that's really feeding those kids into a high school
Right.
program.
That
If
Right.
foundation.
a kid comes into high school, we start our kids all the way up to 11th grade. So if a kid wants to join at Stephenson High School, we have beginning band all the way to 11th grade. You can join. We
Okay.
have a kid to be
Oh,
successful. But you also have to realize that middle school teacher can make or break a kid's mentality. They set precedents on how this
Right.
band operates into your life. That the middle school teacher changes the precedent of the parent. You gotta remember, the T-ball kids, they got a 6 year head start on us band directors. They start playing
Mm-hmm.
T-ball with 3, 4. They didn't put an
Right.
instrument in 10 or 11. And so
Mm-hmm.
T-ball is brain into the parent's construct. T-ball, I say T-ball, but that can be T-ball, soccer, football, cheerleading, all
Anything.
the other
Yeah.
could be
are.
anything. Yeah.
So you have to know how to navigate that to get parents on your team early on. That's why the middle school band directors are super important. So if you come out of college, sometimes you're like, man, I'm teaching middle school. That's a downgrade. No, that's not a downgrade. You're the most important because if you don't do your job right, that kid's gonna walk around high school and dodge the band director for 4 years. Or
Hmm.
they're gonna say, I tried it in middle school. Band is not my thing because they didn't have a good middle school experience. I'm gonna tell you another one. The elementary teacher, super important. Somebody's gonna graduate and not be a band director right away. They're gonna teach elementary school music. And you know why they're important? Because the elementary music teacher teaches every single kid in an elementary school building. Every kid goes
Mm-hmm.
to music once or twice a week in elementary school. If they don't plant the right seeds, that kid is going to turn off the music. And so you have to plant the right seeds, be encouraging, expose them to things that they like and things that they may say they don't like, and see where it goes. And so I think for students coming out, they have to realize uh, all the different turns that could possibly happen once you get that stamp of approval that says, hey, you have a music degree, you're certified to be a music teacher. Notice I didn't say certified to be a band director. Certified to be,
Exactly. Teach
all
music.
right. So
Teach
you,
to teach music.
it's something, and I say I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I teach just band, but my very first year teaching, fresh out of FAMU, 2001. We 21, 22 years old. I'm about to go. I've made my peace with. I'm going to be teaching all sixth grade. I'm like, good. I got a job. I'm gonna be making some money. These sixth graders gonna be the best sixth graders. And then I got thrown with that orchestra class. Whoa, what am I gonna do? I don't do anything with strings. You know,
Mm-hmm.
figure out a way until the cards fell where I didn't have to teach it for very long. But I had a whole semester of students that I had to make sure I didn't turn them off to music because I wasn't a good orchestral musician. I'm not an
Right.
orchestral musician at all. And so golly, there's so many things that that new teachers coming out can be. Just be a sponge and don't be afraid. Whatever city you end up in, don't be afraid to reach out to those old school directors. This is year number 22 for me, so it's like I'm
So
officially
now
like the
you are the old school.
old director.
They gonna
22
call you.
So it's
only.
it's it's um it's one of those things. Just ask questions. You know, you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel. However, you can evolve the wheel so it can run smoother. So we look at the younger
Right.
generation. Yeah, show me how to use TikTok to my advantage. Show me how to use
Hmm.
Yes.
Google Forms to my
Technology.
advantage. you know, I'm still going to the copy machine and print out a paper or send an email. Well, people don't read emails. I gotta be concise and just send a text message to parents. Just little things like that, and also don't feel like us older older teachers. That feels funny saying that. Oldest teacher just old school because you have to always remember when we were the younger teachers, we had to find the wisdom in the older directors because there's some traps you just don't want to fall into. So
Right.
always listen, be willing to learn, be willing to evolve and improve yourself. And I think they will have a good long tenure in the music field if they want to. Just never stop learning.
Definitely.
I
Well,
do.
Quentin, I am so just inspired because I've known you, known you since 97, but the depths to which your
Yes.
passion for music, it oozes off of you.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a lot of fun. So I'll leave it with a little quote. Um, Charles Swindle has a poem out. You all may know it's called Attitude. I got this from one of the classes that I didn't want to take at FAMU. I had to take a psychology class with Dr. Jimmy Simmons.
Ah, that's my
I
major.
enjoyed his class immensely. But he has something in there that stuck with me, man. It's what is your attitude that you're going to embrace for the day? What is your attitude you're going to embrace for your life? And the last, without just paraphrasing it, it talks about all the things that could possibly happen, and it ends that we're in charge of our attitude that we're going to embrace for the day. Life is about 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to the stimulus. And so, if we make a choice with our 90% that we're going to respond in a thoughtful, positive way, even when things don't go the way we want it to go, we're going to find where's the silver lining, where's the positive outlook, how am I going to spin this into my favor? Then we'll have some success, and I think everyone would do a lot better. It's just kind of taking a positive outlook on whatever it is that you're doing and doing your best at it.
Well, let me get my clarinet and give me a Stevenson uniform.
Oh,
No,
come
and
on, come on over,
tell my
come
manager
on
I'm
over.
going to take all 4 weeks of my PTO. Where you going? I'm gonna be in the marching band again. I'm going to Stevenson.
Come on,
And
come on, come on, come on, come on. I can take
Well, thank
I
you
can take
so
the
much,
clarinet
Quentin.
and these young baby French horns I have could use some tuning.
Hey,
hey,
there you
I'm
go, Tracy.
coming.
There you
I'm
go.
coming. I'm
Yeah,
coming. Let me tell my manager.
let them know.
Well, thank you, Quentin. You are still building greater bands 25 years later. And he is also my KK sideline brother, Fall 98. So I just
Hey,
love seeing that mission continue. All right. So that is our
Thank you,
legend,
Quentin.
our legends of the fall.